is his argument essentially that racist people stop being racist when they want to have people work for them? Like that's when their racism starts, and then they're back to being racist afterwards. Like it's an on or off switch. So Sam Seder has been going viral ever since he went on Jubilee for that show that they do called Surrounded, which honestly was the show that kind of killed. It kind of killed it for me when it came to like reacting to Jubilee and their videos. Like this show, I think is so dumb that it just put me off of Jubilee until this episode, mostly just because, I like Sam, big fan of the Majority Report, but this one has also been going very viral just because of how great he has been in taking down these conservatives. And we're just going to start watching it from the top. We'll see how far we go. We're probably not going to watch all of it, but we're just going to see how long we can last.
Hi, I'm Sam Seder, host of the Majority Report, and today I am surrounded by 20 conservatives.
My nightmare. Or just my family reunion.
My first claim is Trump's attack on DEI hides his real goal, which is to give corporations more power.
I think it's just like easy go-to for him to like blame shit on instead of actually looking at the problems. I do think that, it is to give corporations more power as well, but I think it's just like kind of a buzzer for him to go to be like, to look at like the obvious failings of his administration and how the government usually operates, to be like, no, it's DEI's fault. Don't actually look into it. It's just because of black people. All right. But this is what I really hate about the show. Is that like, okay, so you have this entire circle of a certain group of people and they all have to play fucking musical chairs just to debate someone, and each of them aren't given like a specific time to debate. It's more like you do have like a shared time, but that time can get cut short by people raising their red flags, and not because they might even necessarily disagree with something you might say. They might even just put the red flags up just because they want to talk. To me, it just feels like it's a bad way to have like debate in the first place, and they weren't great with it with like middle ground either, because their moderator was essentially useless. But this is just so much worse in my opinion.
Sorry, Sam.
No worries.
All right. I think I have a slight issue with the back end of the premise. I guess Trump's attacks on DEI being a real goal to, give corporations more power. I'd rather center the conversation around the democratic, especially as conservatives, the issues that people have with DEI and why I believe Trump would, want to support the issues that, people are voting for him for.
I mean, I'm talking about his whole attack on DEI. It's actually DEIA, sure. Right? You know that.
Right.
In government agencies. The A being for accessibility.
Right. Yeah, and I think the attack on DEI isn't an attack on people's protections. It's on the other end of the spectrum, right? Wanting to end DEI doesn't want to end protections for someone being disabled, someone being inaccessible to get into a job. It rather wants to de-incentivize corporations to push them to hire these people on unfair bases, right?
Okay, but DEIA is not about quotas or anything like that. It is about protections for people within these organizations, or to make sure that you have different communities that have the opportunity to apply to these things.
Right.
So,
how does DEI operate to these people? Do they honestly think like it's a checkmark thing where it's like companies are like, no, we got to hit our black quota, we got to hit our disabled quota? No, they don't. It's just to make it easier for people who would be disenfranchised in these positions to get the job, instead of, being judged and disregarded based on their race and how, able they are.
So it can mean, within government agencies, it means things like, let's pay interns so that not only wealthy people can have their kids do internships in these agencies.
Right.
or let's put out notices around different parts of town, metaphorically speaking, so that people know this job exists.
Right. This is where it begins, but this isn't the ultimate goal that conservatives have an issue with. Conservatives don't have an issue with trying to spread job applications to poorer communities.
Well,
so
then why rescind DEIA requirements in government agencies?
Because the problem with DEIA is there may not be like perceived actual number quotas, but that's what it devolves into, and especially with.
Yeah, he really doesn't understand his own point, does he? Like, as soon as you say that there aren't actually quotas, that disregards your whole point, because you're trying to make it seem like there is, but it's not. And you even know it's not. So what are you even arguing for? This is a nothing argument. Because you even dismissed your own argument by saying that quotas don't actually exist.
With corporations,
do you have the evidence of that?
I mean, sure, we can look at corporations that are government agencies that are hiring people on not true, proper bases. We can even look at. Even look at.
Do you have
DNC's,
any evidence that that's happening?
Yeah, even the DNC's nomination of Kamala as president.
Oh my God. Oh my God. No, Kamala, here's the thing. I obviously had a lot of problems with Kamala's presidential run. But, like, she has the background. She has more of a background than Trump does. Like, when he ran in 2016, Trump really, like, he didn't really have that much of a background when it came to politics. This was his first go at it. Kamala Harris has been she has more of a record than Trump did in his first run. Well, like, what are you talking about? She has a background. She had a background in politics even before she was vice president. She wasn't just like some rando.
There was no reason to nominate Kamala as she wasn't democratically selected. She wasn't. She didn't go through a single primary.
Well,
none of these things.
So you're saying that Kamala was.
But people, when it came to the Democratic primaries, people voted for Joe Biden, who won those primaries, knowing full well that more than likely Kamala Harris was going to be the VP pick anyways.
The vice president of the United States, after the president drops out 2 months before the convention, you think that's a DEI?
She wasn't.
Yeah, she literally is the next in line in a sense. I mean, they didn't have to make her the candidate. They could have moved on to someone else. But she was the next in line. Like, she is the person after the president. Obviously, you know, even then, you could tell that she was more of a quota, honestly, for Joe Biden. When he was trying to select his vice president, he wanted someone who would make him look more diverse friendly. So they went with a black woman. I'm pretty sure this is been confirmed that that's what he was aiming for, because he knew it wouldn't look good if he just hired another white man. I mean, I'm pretty sure they did the same with Obama. They were just like, no, you gotta get like a moderate white dude, or else people would think you're too progressive.
Every presidential nominee is democratically selected to be the nominee for that party,
Do you realize
except
there were
for
not
Kamala
even
Harris.
Primaries prior to 1972
well,
in
sure,
the Democratic
but
Party?
this isn't before 1972.
Well, I understand, but what did you think you were going to run primaries in those 2 months?
Well, sure,
I mean, Joe Biden should have dropped out even 3 years ago. As far as I'm concerned.
Well, sure, but even before, when Kamala was running in primaries, she didn't.
Okay.
She wasn't the next man up. None of this. She wasn't the next person.
Well, she was the vice president.
Yeah,
right?
she's the vice president.
But she wasn't
that
in
tiny
primaries.
Detail. But listen, aside from, I would have might have wanted a different candidate as well. But that has nothing to do with Trump rescinding orders that basically say you need to search for a wide range of candidates, not necessarily give any different benefits, but you need to make sure different communities have access to the awareness of this job. You need in your office accessibility for people who have physical handicaps.
Sure.
If you have folks who identify as as trans, you need to make it at least hospitable and not. This is all non-discriminatory stuff. That's what this is all about.
But you're cherry picking the portions of DEI that even conservatives don't have issues. Conservatives don't have issues with making workplaces.
The whole DEI apparatus within our government was a function of doing exactly what I said. Had nothing to do with quotas.
It is unfortunate that those things get taken out, and there might not.
That's not how. God. I don't know how someone could be so confidently wrong, but I guess this is what this whole episode is gonna be. Oh, just people being so confidently wrong. Because he has not been able to provide any evidence of like what he is saying is happening. He has already dismissed himself that quotas don't exist. I mean, that quotas exist. He was already like, yeah, they don't really, but I think they do. Or we do. We conservatives think we do. And that's what important is that's what's important nowadays. This is how the world operates now, is that like whatever conservatives find to be true or untrue, that's the fact. Not what's actually true or false, what they perceive to be true or false. It's all feelings, no evidence.
Not have been specific
What
numerical
else is he trying
quotas.
to take out with
It's trying to take out people getting jobs that don't deserve those jobs. People getting pushed into
Then
positions.
provide
they don't have.
examples, provide exact examples, but you can't. You just think black people don't like, you just think black people are anyone a shade darker than you, or someone who is just like a teeny bit more like teeny bit less able-minded than you shouldn't be in like any positions that aren't like minimum wage jobs.
Qualification.
There is no evidence of what you just said happening in these government agencies.
That's not true at all. I mean, we're not allowed to sit here and have notes and numbers to pull up for you. You can't,
Give me one example.
You can't ask me to pull up numbers when
If you're coming to an argument, you should have examples. Like, what, did you expect me to bring facts to this debate? I can't believe you expected me to actually bring like examples and facts and like true statements to this debate.
I'm not able to sit here and look on a computer for you, but these are the problems that conservatives.
Sorry, you've been voted out. Please return to your seat.
Thanks, Sam.
Such a moron, dude. Don't expect me to have facts. Ooh.
See ya.
Okay, so I think the roots issue with DEI isn't what the previous gentleman was trying to point. Conservatives aren't necessarily have issues with those things like accessibility to people who might need help. The issue is, and I kind of referred to this before, when you have agencies and systems, what tends to happen when you have government overreach, big government, is that agencies and systems get abused. And I think unequivocally, DEI was heavily abused in practice. It was great in theory. It's idealistic, which is sure is fine, that a lot of people can get behind, but it was abused in a lot of ways. When you have actors, like we're in California right now, when you have actors, white male actors who are being told, we do not want white men, we're not gonna cast any white men, we only want this particular kind of
so stupid. So fucking dumb. That whole dude, the argument only exists by fucking washed up actors. The only people who bring that up are people who can't act for shit. That's the only people being like, they don't want white men anymore. Yeah, Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is out of a job because they don't want white men anymore. Like, it's insane. It's asinine. Timothy Chalamet. But they would probably call him gay, so that's why he gets a bunch of movies.
Gender, race, right? That is an abuse of a system. It's no longer fair, but more about just perpetuating one.
Didn't Adrian Brody win an Oscar for top best male actor or something? Adrian Brody. The Academy Award Best Actor for The Brutalist, which he won. But yeah, Hollywood just hates white actors.
Aspect of, visual compelling aspects, because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is companies are going to say, well, we want to look the most diverse.
Okay, well,
and what that is it's moral grandstanding. It's like, because we have more black women, we sell better soda, like that.
I got you.
That is.
But that's just marketing. That's not like like, this guy does know that like DEI is just not, it's not just marketing. Like, yeah, these companies are gonna do that regardless because they want a widespread audience. That's why, like, when people say like, oh, woke is in Hollywood or woke, like all these woke companies, they don't realize that like it's just marketing, it's pandering. Like they're just trying to be like, hey, this is something that anybody can enjoy, and like that has nothing to do with DEI. That's always, what are you talking about?
It is not.
Well, that's getting a little far afield from what Trump's DEI orders are. But I can tell you, as somebody who was a sitcom actor in the 90s, I would walk into a room and everybody I would see would look like me. And I was doing a second position, which doesn't even exist anymore, where you do 2 pilots a year. And I was looking around basically every part of television when I was a kid. I was centered in some fashion. It was either this is about my mother, or this is about my father, or someone like me was centered. So, you know, we can argue as to whether or not Hollywood is overcorrected in some fashion. But on a governmental level, the DEIA directives that agencies were following for the past 4 years, there's nothing, I don't know what you mean by abuse on it, but there is no evidence that it was an affirmative action program in those instances. It was about anti-discrimination. You cannot discriminate against these people, and you want to open up opportunities for a broad swath of people. Again, the internship is like one of the most material things that exist there, where the idea that you need to pay interns. And that's important because you want low-income people to have the same sort of like opportunities to see these things as wealthy people. You know, my kids can maybe afford to do an internship for the summer instead of going to get a job.
I think what's happening is we're talking about 2 different things.
Well, again, but I'm talking about Trump's DEIA rescission.
Yeah, no, they're not 2 different things. He's talking about what it actually is. You're just talking about the DEIA that fucking Trump and other Republicans try to sell, which is not the case. They just try to say like, oh, DEI is giving black people jobs they don't deserve, and that's why we need to get rid of it. But that's not what it is. It's not affirmative action.
Is a way of basically driving people out of these agencies, making it
you're saying Trump specifically, and I understand why you're saying Trump, but I think the American people as a whole have kind of, and I won't say whole because obviously it's not 100%, but a majority of the American people have kind of rejected DEI because, again,
I don't think
because of how the media portrays it, but not because of what it actually is. Like, okay, they all believe a lie, but that doesn't mean that it's true.
The majority of Americans know what DEIA is.
That may be the case, but again, my point is we're talking about abuse of a system. What you're talking about is not necessarily what was happening. What people were seeing were, hey...
What is the abuse? Don't just say it was abused. Give examples. That's the thing. It's the same thing with the other guy. You can't give examples because there are none. You're just using words. You're using key words and just hoping that you can win an argument that way.
Because you're white, you can't do this, and liberals like to do this thing where they create systems, and then they created the whole idea of woke, and then they backed away, and then conservatives say woke, and then they're like, well, we don't know what woke is. They created DEI. Biden literally said Kamala Harris is being chosen because she is.
I mean, woke is literally a term that, in a sense, was taken over by white people. Like the term woke was invented by black people to be like, you know, someone who was, you know, woke to, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the term woke was used as a way to be like someone who is aware of the, you know, how society, how like the government kind of downplays black people. But now, but you know, after some time, conservatives just took the word and was just like, woke is gay. Woke means gay or black or whatever marginalized group I'm opposed to.
Is a black woman, and then all of a sudden Democrats for the rest after that said that's not why she was chosen, even though Biden literally said that. And then we have this cognitive dissonance as if we're not living in reality.
Biden wanted to make sure that there was that there was an opportunity for a black woman to be his vice president. Without a doubt.
So why?
Yeah, that's true, but that's not DEI. But also, Kamala Harris was still qualified for that position. She had the qualifications. It just turned out that he was looking for a black woman to be his vice president. So, by the way, how can you dress like this? Like, let's just get away from the argument real quick, because, like, it's very obvious. Kamala Harris had the background to be fit to be vice president. You know, conservatives just used the fact that Biden was just trying to use her as a way to boost his own image to get across. That's still not DEI. But also, like, how can you dress like this? This guy right here, or woman, or they, them. I don't know. Like, how can you dress like this and be conservative? How? Look at you. How can you dress like this and be a conservative? I don't understand this. I don't understand, like, any alt person, any goth person who is just literally like, no, I'm conservative, or I'm a turf or a swerve or something like that. Like, how can you dress like that but still be a fucking moron?
So why did Democrats move away from that and say, no, it wasn't because she was a black woman?
I don't know why
because they were trying to cover their own ass. Like, yeah, that's the... because they were just like, oh no, we didn't do this because we wanted to make our white guy look good. But conservatives see that of being him, like, conservatives see that of, like, a blatant attempt by Joe Biden to try to, I don't know, seem more pro-black. I wouldn't even say progressive, because it's not like Kamala Harris is necessarily progressive, but like to seem more pro-black, maybe after I'm not sure if, I don't remember if not the nomination, oh, like him being like, yeah, I chose Kamala as my vice president. Was that before or after? It must have been after or before he made that comment about being, you're not really black if you don't vote for me. I don't know. I don't remember when that comment was and when she got picked. Maybe she was already picked beforehand. I don't know. But like, yeah, it was a blatant attempt for him to, seem more friendly to diversity or whatever. Despite being a big contributor to the crime bill in the 90s. But like, that doesn't mean that DEI is necessarily a thing. Like, even without DEI, he probably still would have done that. Like, it wasn't like, DEI. It wasn't like the government was like, hey, you have to do this. You have to. If that was like, it's just so dumb. No, he did it himself. He shot himself in the foot doing that, and also like essentially allowing it. Like, it's just so dumb. Like, this is the one thing where it's just like, okay, he has a point, but he's still wrong, because he's trying to use this as a anti-DEI message of being like Kamala Harris's pick, choosing to be vice president was a DEI order or something like that. Like, no, that's not the case. You're right for saying that, like, it was a choice, like, she got there because she was a black woman, but also that still doesn't mean she wasn't qualified for the position. He didn't just pick any black woman off the street. He wanted a black woman as his vice president, but he still picked one that, based on her resume, based on her background, was still qualified to be in that position.
My point is that
it's not because she's a black woman.
But that's what they said. I can agree that it's not because she's a black woman, but that's what they said. Why did they say that then?
No, because there are plenty of black women, right? Like, he could have picked anybody, but he picked specifically her. You're positing the idea that there wasn't a black woman who would have been qualified for that position.
No,
and I don't believe that.
No, that's not what conservatives aren't saying, that there aren't.
I mean, that is kind of what they're saying. Like, anytime, it's someone, who's a part of a marginalized group who, like, they deem to be unfit, it always gives off that impression of being, we don't think any person from a marginalized community deserves to be in any sort of position that we deem important. Like, it's just like that mayor from Baltimore after the bridge collapse. They were calling the mayor a DEI mayor. Like, they saw he was black and he was like, oh, DEI. Like, it's so, like, no, that's what conservatives do. They essentially look at people of color, and people with disabilities, and just like, yeah, that person got into the position they're in because of DEI. That's why. Like, Kamala Harris had qualifications. She ran in 2016. She was the first to drop out because she ran a terrible campaign. Like, again, personally speaking, I think her campaign was terrible. And even objectively speaking, I mean, she lost twice. The first time she dropped out. The second time, she literally lost by an embarrassing amount. But the thing is that, like, if you were just to look on paper, the positions that she has held, she is qualified. Even before becoming vice president, like, she had positions in office in the areas that she was in. You can't really say that for Trump. Like, even Trump is kind of an example of, like, DEI, at least in the way that they see it, because he only got to that position that he is in is because he was rich and had a big name. If it wasn't for that, if there were actually, like, qualifications of being like, hey, you had to have been in a position of power in, like, the gubernatorial, in, like, a government form of body, you had to be in a form of power, he would not be in there. But because he was rich, famous, he was a known name, and he was able to use his media connections to really boost himself, he won the presidency. And also, because the Democrats ran a shitty campaign 2 times. But that was it. Like, he had no business running. He had no background in politics. Yeah, he spoke on it every now and again, but he had no position of power anywhere on a local level, on a state-run level, nothing. Like, he had no reason. He had no, like, his background did not equate to what normal people before Trump would expect out of a presidential candidate, which is, again, to hold some form of office, to be in some form of power, and then trying to get up there. At least, like, on a state-run level. I don't think anyone would expect, like, a local mayor, like a governor or a House representative to be like, hey, I'm running. Like, something like that, or like a district attorney.
Aren't, because again, even in the Republican Party right now, and in Trump's cabinet, there are people of color that Democrats.
There's literally fucking Peter Hegseth, the head of the Department of Defense, I believe. Like, he has no reason to be there. That's, like, in terms of how conservatives look at DEI, that's a perfect example of one. He has no reason to be there. He's just a Fox News host. That's it. That's his only qualifications. I believe, did he serve or something? But I don't think he even served in, like, a high-ranking position either. But even then, like, he has no background in actually, like, being in any high-ranking position of power. Nothing. He's just a Fox News host. And now he's, like, the head of the Department of Defense.
Pretend don't exist, like J.D. Vance's wife, and
J.D. Vance's wife is not in the cabinet.
No, but if J.D. Vance was a Democrat, his wife would be lauded all over everything because of her color of her skin.
Listen, I'm not here to defend the Democrats' choice on every policy, but there is one party in this country that is identitarian, and it is the Republican Party. 85% of Republicans are white. That's just the reality of it.
So does that
Some
mean
people
that,
don't necessarily have a problem with that.
But here's the thing. You said even if let's just say, okay, that's true. 80% of Republicans are white. Does that mean that they're less moral? That they can't run in a...
I think it would say a lot that it's not more of a diverse group of people. I think it says that if, like, a certain group is, like, mostly white, like 85%, like, I think that says a lot about the policies. I think that says a lot of the moral views that, why is a certain group of party mostly just one race? Like, what is throwing people of other races off from that party? Probably their stances, their political takes, what they believe, their morals. Like, that's the thing. Like, yeah. Why is the Democratic Party more diverse? Probably because more people of color, more people from marginalized groups see the Democratic Party as, more friendly towards them. would probably get, advocate for things that will better them. They're probably going to be wrong because the Democratic Party doesn't actually really stand for those things anymore, at least with the way that the current Democratic Party stands, where they're just like, yeah, we'll throw marginalized people under the bus. If it means we can be in positions of power, or we'll let the Republican Party do whatever they want to these marginalized groups as long as, we just get to sit back and collect our paychecks.
They can't run an effective government. What does race have to do? What does race have to do? Hold on. What does
Donald Trump didn't have to say, my vice president's going to be a white male.
No.
Because they all knew it was going to be.
No, this is the premise of DEI. What does race have to do with running an effective government? What does race have to do? If, let's say, DEI on the micro level.
I will tell you right now.
DEI on the micro level at McDonald's.
I'll tell you.
Am I going to get better nuggets?
Listen, I'll ask you a question.
If the cashier is black or white, what does that have to do with anything?
I'll tell you what it is. First of all, DEIA means that if you come into this agency or corporation...
You know why it's a good factor? Because when you have a diverse group of people around you, when you have a diverse group of people running the system, you get to learn from other viewpoints. Like, you get to learn from other perspectives and how to combat certain issues that you might not be that well knowledge on, because you have people in those positions of power who can talk to you and try to help guide you in those circumstances.
You're not going to be discriminated against because you don't look like everybody else, or you don't have the same physical abilities as everybody else, or you may require handles on the bathroom or whatever it is. That's what DEIA does. But does it make a government better if there's a broad representation of the people it's supposed to govern? Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Regardless of DEI, don't we already have things in our Constitution that protects people's rights, protects people?
No.
We don't?
No.
Do we or do we not?
No, we do not. Tell me.
No, we don't.
Tell me what protects people from discrimination in housing and in work and hiring or getting loans. It's all statutes. It's all statutes. And in these government agencies, there was nothing except for that order. That's why Trump just rescinded it.
I'm gonna tap out because I think someone else has a better.
He just didn't know how to combat that. He's just trying to put that on someone else. I don't think he honestly knows how to combat that. Like, yeah, there aren't any protections. He was trying to use the broad statement of being like, oh yeah, the Constitution protects people from some things, but he wasn't going to get into the actual thing that protects them, which has nothing to do with this conversation. Like, yeah, when it comes to housing, loans, working, shit like that, there isn't anything that protects them from that. And also, as we have been learning lately, the Constitution doesn't matter when it comes to this Trump administration. Just look at that one guy who got arrested for, being pro-Palestine.
Can defend that point specifically better than me.
All right, please return to your seat.
I think he was just doing the coward's way of walking out because he just didn't know how to combat that. Oh, this guy. Oh, okay. The guy that I think... Yeah, this guy. The guy in the flannel, whatever.
How are you?
He has probably been has the most viral clip out of everyone else in this video. He's the one that has been shown everywhere and has caused this video to be memed in a sense because of how idiotic his take is. I don't know if it's on this. I don't know if he reappears at some point. I'm trying to see, we probably will just cover this guy's segments from now on, even unless the moment I'm talking about, the viral one, is shown later. I don't even think they get to everyone. I don't even think they got to everyone who is a part of this circle, which is kind of embarrassing to be like, hey, do you guys just want to sit around and watch these people debate and not actually do anything?
How you doing?
Okay, when it comes to DEI, essentially, if a person was not racist, he would
I'm
hire.
sorry, how can you be conservative? Like, the same thing with the guy or the person in orange. How can you be a conservative and look like this? Conservatives will look at you and be like, you're soy. Like, I'm sorry, you look like you go into your local Starbucks every single day, get your caramel cappuccino with whipped cream and shit like that. Like, and your shot of espresso, you look like a city lib. Like, I'm from a small town, very conservative. People would look at me and they'll look at this guy and they'll think that he is the liberal. They'll think that he is the non-binary leftist. Okay? No, come on, man. At least dress the part, God.
Someone regardless, right? So why would we need a policy to protect a person if we've moved past racism? So would you consider yourself racist?
Wait, are you suggesting we've moved past racism?
Would you consider yourself racist?
I consider myself, and sometimes I think we all practice like some form of, white supremacy. I think actually like we all do to some degree.
Well, I'm glad that you're saying that. So I guess going to the LGBT topic, it seems like it's very prevalent for you as an issue.
Well, it seems like a big issue. I mean, the Republican Party spent literally hundreds of millions of dollars demonizing trans people.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why they've done something like that, and I think you're misconstruing the narrative, they haven't demonized them. They simply want protections back for their own children.
They wanted those protections that like already existed because children can't get, trans surgery without adult consent. Without their parents' consent. That doesn't happen. They haven't demonized them. They just spent like hundreds of millions of dollars running smear campaigns.
Because children are being stripped away from
Who's
their
their
parents.
own children? Wait, children are being stripped away from their parents?
Yes, due to AB
Jesus Christ.
954, they've now included gender identity as a premise to remove and strip parental rights for children who maybe they are rejecting their gender ideology.
So, but you'd be okay with parents who agree with their children's doctors to provide gender-affirming care?
I do not agree with that. Do you?
I believe that parents and doctors can make those decisions with the kids,
If
of
a
course.
child can't smoke, drink, or have sex before the age of 18, they should not be able to consent to a sex change. Now,
Wait, I wasn't supposed to be doing those things before 18? Shit, I didn't know. Damn, I didn't know you weren't allowed to do those things. It's almost as if kids do those things before 18 all the fucking time. I guess he means like, obviously I think he means like sex with adults, obviously when he talks about sex, but like with that like stature he brought up, like yeah, forcing your kid to stay a certain gender because you don't agree with the gender identity that they feel comfortable identifying with, yeah, that's a form of child abuse. That is. It's not like your kid is pretending to be a dinosaur and you're like, stop being a dinosaur. Like, this is something actually real. Like, it's something that they actually feel. And you'll see this if you watch like detransitioner videos, like the people who are just like, oh, I was trans, I detransitioned, now it's terrible. They'll also bring on people who were stripped of their kids. Usually it'll be like divorced dads who are like, my son was taken away from me. Fucking Elon Musk did that with his own child not that long ago. They will get divorced from their partners, maybe because of this issue, maybe because not. There was like one I saw from like a detransitioner documentary that Jose covered. Let me bring it up. I watched 3 terrible conservative documentaries. The guy got divorced. I'm not sure if it was because maybe this is the guy.
LGBT plus community messaging. He also claims that his wife hit him, though the LA Times article.
Okay, yeah, this is the guy. From what I remember from this video, this guy essentially said that like he got divorced from his wife. I think it happened after the divorce. Like he got divorced from his wife, and then he saw his son in a dress or something like that, and he got like really pissed off about it. And apparently his wife got like did something legally. I think it was a what's it called when you can't be in a distance of someone, like a certain distance, a restraining order. I think it was a restraining order. I don't know. I would definitely check out the video for yourself if you want to watch. I watched 3 terrible documentaries. But going back to this, Like a lot of those cases, it's just like dickheads who like get really upset if they see a boy in a dress, and are just like more than likely abusers anyways. Like shit like that. Like yeah, it's child abuse. That's why they get taken away.
In terms of a DEI initiative, the reason why there's military bans on trans women and trans men is because they do not have the ability to cooperate at a mental capacity when they're constantly undergoing hormone treatment, as well as depression pills, as well as different mood stabilizer pills. And so when you go out to combat, do you really think you're going to bring...
Does that mean that anybody who is like on antidepressants and shit like that also can't be in the military? That's essentially what you're saying. Jesus fucking Christ, dude.
Bring an ice cooler pack with your, whether that be hormone, estrogen, or whatever it may be, while you're about to shoot someone of the opposing war?
Well, the executive orders that Trump gave were DEIA orders that had to do with agencies that have nothing to do with the military.
Yes, they do. Yes, they absolutely do.
The FDA, they just revoked the ability of the Air Force to teach Air Force members about the Tuskegee Airmen.
Well,
like,
we're not...
what are we talking about here?
Okay, well...
Honestly, like, they're rewriting history.
Well, that's your perspective, right?
No, that's what's happening. When you were literally telling the Air Force to be like, hey, don't tell these pilots about like a terrible thing that happened in the past where we essentially just used a black man, exploited them in a way. Yeah, don't teach them about that. That is rewriting history. You were trying to sugarcoat your history.
But at the end of the day, if a person...
Tuskegee Airmen, we can all agree, existed, right?
Just listen to this. If you were racist, right, and you were an employer, and if you wanted to absolutely be racist and exercise that, you would. I think DEI sort of prevents people from seeing the reality. If a person truly wanted to hire you based on your intellect, based on your skill set, they would. DEI essentially provides...
What is that argument? What is that? To be like, no, people, like racist people, is his argument essentially that racist people stop being racist when they want to have people work for them? Like that's when their racism starts, and then they're back to being racist afterwards? Like it's an on or off switch?
Tax cuts. For the end of the year, when you create your tax returns, they give you a tax credit for hiring someone who is black or a person of color. I don't know if you knew that.
In these agencies?
In agencies and private
In government
businesses.
agencies, they don't get tax cuts for hiring people of color.
And the other thing I wanted
this is to protect people from discrimination.
This isn't the clip, but we'll get into like what this guy believes agencies do with taxes and shit like that.
I want to kind of state here is that I've realized that a lot of the times with the liberals is that you guys push for example, for DEI and people of Latino or Hispanic descent. And a lot of the times what you don't realize is you're actually doing more harm than...
God, I hate this fucking line of speaking. To be like, well, it's so fucking pathetic. It's in a way, he's essentially trying to talk down to Sam with this, with the way that he's speaking, trying to be like, well, you guys don't realize this, but you're actually doing harm. I know you're, like, he's pretending that he thinks that Sam is a good person. To be like, he's trying to like, you know, little bro him. He's trying to talk down to him, but being like, I don't think you even realize the harm that you're doing. I don't think you realize, but you're actually doing harm. You know, like with the other, at least with the other two guys, they were just like, no, this is what's wrong with your argument. But I fucking hate how this guy speaks, because there's other people who speak like that too, where they think they're 100% in their right, and they will speak down to you, but also trying to like, you know, like baby you in a sense, being like, it's not your fault, you just have bad positions, but we can fix that. You just have bad positions. Like, no, you are wrong. You are astronomically wrong. You're a dumbass. And you're trying to make yourself seem like this savior. This is like a savior complex. Trying to be like, yeah, I'm going to save you from your terrible opinions.
Good by putting them in positions where you make them believe that it's based on the color of their skin. It's based on...
DEIA does not is not.
It's based on merit. DEI emphasizes color, skin color,
No,
physical
it
attributes.
says that the people who work in your agency, it's about anti-discrimination.
Discrimination against what?
Against people who may have different
From marginalized group.
cultural mores, may have different.
From
That's
marginalized
irrelevant
communities.
to a job, right? It should be based on merit. And that is the emphasis.
Yeah, but people's judgments. But see, someone can be based. Someone could be incredibly qualified for a position, but not get that position because of the marginalized group they're a part of, whether they are disabled, whether they are a person of color. The people behind these hiring decisions aren't strictly doing it off of merit. They have personal biases that go into their picks. That's always going to exist. They're not robots. And DEI is essentially just a way to even out the playing field.
People get hired as a merit, but if the DEI,
not if you get a
if the
tax
DEI, I'm talking about Trump's rescission of
If
these
you
orders
received a
on
tax
these
cut as
agencies.
an employer, wouldn't you hire a person of color?
Dude,
If you could pay them less?
listen, we're talking about government agencies that do not get tax cuts. They don't. Government agencies.
They don't.
No,
Yes,
these are.
they do. They absolutely do.
I'm talking about
Every
parts of-
private and public sector gets tax cuts when you hire a person of color.
Government agencies don't pay taxes. Government agencies are funded by the government.
That is not true. That is not true. And you know what? I think the whole juxtapose of this.
Dude, fucking, this is the moment that everyone was fucking replaying. Everyone was sharing a clip of because he's just so wrong. How could you be this wrong? How could you be this confident in this wrong? Like, here's the thing. This is something that you would probably expect a normal person to be wrong about, but not someone who is literally a conservative talking point, who goes on a show to debate this progressive, news pundit who runs his own show, who has his own news show. How are you this confident? I don't know who this guy is, in all fairness. I don't know if they say it earlier, like when he first shows up.
Hi.
They probably have his name.
How you doing?
Okay, when it comes to DEI,
Okay, Michael. Yeah, I want to check out this guy to see what he's all about. Okay, I guess he did one of these with Destiny.
gets tax cuts when you hire a person of color.
Government agencies don't pay taxes. Government agencies
Why are you posting this? This is this guy's official account, and he's posting
are
his
funded
L.
by the government.
That is not true. That is not true.
And same with xenophobic national. Like, what's the problem with xenophobic nationalism? Don't you think that's better?
Cena? Oh my god, okay, that girl is just a Nazi. Why would you post your own L like this? Did he edit it?
Private and public sector gets tax cuts when you hire a person of color.
Government agencies don't pay taxes. Government agencies are funded by the government.
That is not.
Dude, why are you posting your own L? How could you be so conceivably wrong? Okay, so he's just a fucking, he's just a goddamn, Republican talking head. How could you be this wrong? How could you not even know, like, basic fucking politics when this is supposed to be your whole thing?
Government agencies don't pay taxes. Government agencies are funded by the government.
That is not true. That is not true. And you know what? I think.
Oh, I love this reaction from Sam. Just watch.
I think the whole juxtapose of this entire conversation.
He was just like, I cannot have a conversation with this man. He is just too stupid. And I've seen so many people meme this. I've even seen people, like conservatives, use this as a meme, like his reaction as like trying to dunk on liberals. Like, I've seen conservatives try to use this, like, dunk on, like, his little reaction there as being like, oh, when a liberal says something stupid, like, dude, you don't even understand the context of the meme you're using. But Jesus Christ, like, how dumb could you possibly be? If you're going to talk about the government and government agencies when it comes to, like, the U.S. government, you need to understand that. Like, that should be one of the first things. You should at least understand the basics of it if you feel so confident talking about it. Hello everyone, thank you for watching today's video. If you would like to see more videos like this, please leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more. If you would like to check out my gaming channel, it is FruitySaur Gaming. There I play all sorts of games. And if you would like to check out my podcast channel, where I cover topics like anime, comics, TV shows, movies, and even pro wrestling, that would be at the Fruit Basket if you would like to check out my podcast. But with all that being said, that's all I had to say today, and I will see y'all next time.